Hello, thank you everybody for joining us. We will be starting momentarily. We're getting our speakers up, we're retweeting the room, getting this all aligned. I think today's going to be a great space.
How's it going, guys?
Fantastic. Lovely to have you here, Lucas.
What is happening?
Right now, we are retweeting the room out, making sure everyone gets to come in. I know a lot of people were grabbing some snacks before they were headed towards the space, so I think this is going to be a great space.
You gotta have snacks. Snacks are the most important thing in the world right now.
What's your favorite snack?
Chips, like this pita chips baked with hummus. Oh my god, so good.
That really does sound seriously good right now. I have not eaten, and that I want it so bad.
I'm glad to make you all hungry.
All right, we got everything set up now. I think we're ready to go. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another amazing Wax Wednesday space call. I'm your host, Snazzy, and with me is our fantastic Tommy. There's been a lot of commotion in the space recently about technological changes and blockchain development. So, here to answer all of our questions is the legendary Lucas Vidka, Wax's Chief Technology Officer. So we'll start the space off with an introductory interview with Lucas. Tommy's going to host that. And then we're going to have the opportunity for everybody to come up and ask questions that they might have about what's going on with the Wax blockchain right now. I have a feeling this is going to be a very important conversation. So definitely write down any thoughts or questions that you may have throughout the conversation that inspired you so that you can come up and share them at the end. And with that, Tommy, would you like to take over? Oh, Tommy, I think you might be muted. I think Tommy's having a little bit of technical difficulties, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the interview questions then. I think he's going to leave and then come back. You know how Twitter is sometimes with these things. So,
No worries.
welcome, Lucas. It feels great to have you finally come into our community. I know you've done so much for the Wax blockchain, and it really deserves to be shown off and discussed. Would you mind going over what it is that you do and oversee at Wax for our listeners who may not be too familiar?
For sure. First of all, thanks for a warm welcome, and I am super excited to be here. I think that as a team, we can definitely do better to communicate what it is that we're working on and why, and also share some of our struggles, some of our wins. We were actually talking about it before this event, and I'm hoping to get into a better cadence where we can maybe do this quarterly, so that we can keep everyone up to date in terms of what it is that we are doing and why. That's always very important. And as far as my responsibility, there are many different buckets, but at the end of the day, I am responsible for everything related to engineering here at Wax. And it is a mixed bag of responsibilities. The probably the largest one that I have been focusing on over the last year is organizational development, making sure that we find, interview, hire the right talent to have at the table to be able to solve all the different problems that we need to solve. Also, I'm responsible for organizing the team into functional pods so they can actually execute on the projects in parallel, work with the business and the community on the priorities, and creating this internal ecosystems of engineers and product managers and QA testers and operations and many different roles that have to come together in order to make this work. And then after all that is said and done, then actually making sure that all the teams are working and delivering. Over the last year, we've been very fortunate to to be able to find a lot of talent around the world. The Wax engineering team is 100% remote, and we are working across many, many different countries in the world. We've created these functional pods of teams that are responsible for various different aspects of the things that we do, starting with the blockchain platform team. So that those are the guys that are responsible for making sure that we focus on solving resource constraint issues, or maybe working on performance issues and how transactions are processed, especially when it comes to Wax Cloud Wallet. They're also very much involved in some heavy lifting when it comes to optimizations to our infrastructure, and then also working on some of the proposals or enhancements that we want EOS Network Foundation and the Antelope, which is this new EOS IO fork, to include, because as part of my responsibility, I'm also working very closely with EOS Network Foundation to make sure that that community accounts for Wax needs. Our needs are very different than let's say other members of the EOSIO chains or Antelope chains right now, because I mean we do have we are pushing the limit of what this technology can do. We've got millions and millions of accounts. We've got on average 500,000 daily active users. There's a lot of transactions being pushed through our chain. Last time I checked, was hovered around 20 million transactions per day, which if you compare it to other blockchains, all of them combined don't do the traffic that we do at this point. It's a combination of making sure that we have the right talent, that this talent is organized into the right teams, that these teams can actually execute and deliver high quality software releases, and then also working with external groups like EOS Network Foundation and our OIGs who are overseeing the block producers, and then also working with block producers if necessary on any sort of issues that may come up.
For everyone who joined during what he was explaining, what he really does for Wax, it's a lot. it's handling and managing so many different people, making sure that everything gets done the way that it needs to get done. And he's the main lead of all of the engineering for the Wax blockchain, which, I mean, this is a technical space. That's basically everything. So it's really, really exciting to have you here. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what you did pre-Web3 in the technology development era?
Yeah, for sure. So I think my background, I started as an engineer in the late 90s. So I actually caught the tail end of the e-commerce boom and then the crash that followed. So I started my career as a software engineer, building various different systems. And then, I transitioned through my career through various different levels of being a developer, senior developer, team lead. Then I moved through architecture track. So I became a solutions architect, then enterprise architect, and I worked for various different companies, large and small. I've done a lot of consulting in various different verticals like automotive and finance and e-commerce. And about 10 years ago, I decided that I wanted to augment the technical aspect with more of management, organizational development, because I discovered throughout the years that I like working with people. I like building teams. I like growing engineers and mentoring engineers. So I moved more into the management track. So through that, I went through various different levels of being a manager, then director, then a VP, and finally over the last three iterations. This is my third or fourth iterations now, where my role is either VP of engineering or CTO, which a lot of times these roles are interchangeable depending on the size of the organization. But the work that I've done right before I joined Wax, I was a CTO at Grindr, and Grindr is the largest gay dating network in the world. So I took that team from 5, 7 developers that they have, and after 4 years that I was there, I grew that team to about 150. At which point, that was a massive global app, and it was acquired by another company. At which point, I left, and I started. That was beginning of 2018, and I started looking at the engineering space and technical space, and I really wanted to get into Web3 and blockchain technologies, and that's how I started talking to Wax and William and Jonathan, who are the founders, and we ended up working together. And then the rest is history.
And we are so glad that it worked out this way. We love having your expertise in Wax because it really has taken this chain to what it is today, which everyone knows as, the king of NFTs. And we're grateful for you being here. I know Tommy was able to make it back up. Tommy, are you able to talk now, or do you think that Twitter Spaces is still pulling a rug?
No, I think, can you all hear me? I think this was my first official rug by Twitter Spaces, so you're all here for it. Lucas was here too, so I'm glad I can embarrass myself a little bit.
What's up, Tommy?
Hey, Lucas. All right, Snazzy, let me take over for you. And Lucas, thanks for giving us the intro on how you came over and joined the Wax team. Let's talk about one of the big things that we have here, and that's the Wax Cloud Wallet. So the idea of a cloud-based wallet was really a great way to create a smoother on-ramping experience for users who want to enter the Web3 space. In your opinion, how do you think this has pioneered the Wax ecosystem?
Sure. So you guys mentioned, my contribution. I think I want to, before I answer that question, I want to also make sure that everyone understands why Wax is great, and it's really the ecosystem and people in it. I cannot highlight enough the level of technical expertise and dedication that we have at the table, coming from our block producers and other guilds and standbys that are working every day to make sure that chain is live, and that everything works. I am amazed every day at the level of engineering skill set that is actually here. So that, I think, that's one side of the coin. Another side of the coin is also everyone who is actually either building or consuming Web3 applications on Wax. So, we've seen, I think from the very beginning, we've seen about close to 4,000 different dApps being developed. And if I were to include all the different collections that were developed as a dApp, then we could say that we really have millions and millions, because I think there's been like 320 million of collections minted on Wax so far. So we've got a massive amount of people on both sides, on the technical side, that are contributing, that are part of the ecosystem, that are really outside of my team, and then also the users and contributors. And now going back to Wax Cloud Wallet, so the problem in blockchain space in general is the fact that the mainstream adoption is almost non-existent. And it's been years now, and even after a couple of years of this NFT hype, where everyone and their mother knows what Bored Apes is, even then, if you were to take someone off the street who is, fairly technically savvy, they can use their mobile phone and applications, and they know how to call Uber, they know how to order some stuff on Amazon, um, you know, they would be absolutely floored at the level of friction that is necessary to interact with the Web3 application today. Um, you know, just the number of wallets, how you interact with the wallets, how you set up the wallets, the keys. Then, if you are using hardware devices like Ledger, that even moves it to the next level. So in order for a mainstream consumer to be able to interact with the Web3 application today, it is a horrendous user experience. And I think that is why Wax Cloud Wallet has been so successful, because of the auto signing and its ability to remove that friction from the end user interaction, right? So if you're a Web3 developer, if you integrate Wax Cloud Wallet in your application, then the benefit is that the users are able to create their account and blockchain account in a couple of clicks using their social media account, or username and password, and then after that, through the auto signing technology and the stuff that we've built, we're essentially able to remove all the key management, signing, transaction friction from these Web3 applications. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the key ingredient that has allowed the Wax ecosystem to grow so much, right? The fact that we have so many active daily users and so many signups is a testament to the fact that we really focus on user experience, yep. and then design technology around that, and that was the key that was kind of the genesis behind that particular product.
That's really cool that you get customer first and trying to break down barriers and make it easier for customers to get in and users to play games and collect their favorite NFTs. That's really ingenious. What kind of changes have we made to the wallet you want to highlight since we launched it?
Right. So let's kind of set the stage for this answer a little bit. I did talk about organizational development, all the hiring, training, and then setting up all the teams that we've done over the last year. We're finally at the point where we have created these independent engineering pods, consisting of cross-functional engineers that are able to work together and focus on just one area, right? So we have now dedicated team for Wax Cloud Wallet. We have dedicated team for blockchain platform, dedicated team for viral marketplace that we will talk about, and then also dedicated team for games and NFT launcher. And then let's not forget, there is now also a dedicated team for DevOps and kind of 24/7 monitoring of all the systems, which I'm very happy about, because I used to be woken up 5 times at night when something went down, especially with the Wax Cloud Wallet. So when it comes to the, I'm sorry, Tommy, can you repeat that question? Because I was so focused on talking about organizational structure that I forgot the point of it.
No, of course, yeah. I wanted to say, with that said, what were some of the highlighted features we've added to the wallet since we started?
Right. So let's unpack this and let's talk about the last year. So the majority of the work that was done was essentially to optimize the resource model, and address a lot of the botnets that have been plugging up our ecosystem. So especially last year, when we were seeing a lot of congestion on the network, a lot of problems with RAM, we probably went through 3 or 4 different iterations of complete overhaul and redesign how Wax Cloud Wallet internal engine works, and how it can essentially boost someone's transactions, how it can allow dApp developers to participate in that process. We also completely redesigned how accounts are being created, how much resource they consume. For those people who do not know, each blockchain account on Wax consumes resources. Some of them can be recouped, some of them they cannot. And those accounts, the growth accounts, and the resources that they consume is directly related to the pressure and strain that is being put on block producers when it comes to the level of hardware that they need to run in order to power the blockchain, right? So at 13 million and counting accounts, plus 320 million different NFTs minted. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of pressure on them. So we needed to make sure that, especially in the Wax Cloud Wallet arena, we are as efficient as possible, we are as secure as possible, and at the same time, we have this boost model that is fair and works well with the dApp developers. So that was a huge area that we focused on over the last year. Also, there's been a lot of security enhancements that the team focused on, and then finally, right now we are working on a full ground up redesign of Wax Cloud Wallet. So there's going to be a completely new UX UI that is going to be delivered, but also the nature of the Wax Cloud Wallet as it evolves changes. So we all know that the blockchain space moves at the speed of light, and every 3 months we've got something new. And one day you've got DeFi, then you've got NFT drops, then you've got play to earn, then you've got play to own. So every it seems that things are completely every quarter it seems something new comes up. So definitely we need to keep up with that. Wax Cloud Wallet, we focused also on building a lot of bridging technology. So one of the things that we also do on the engineering side is support our business development team to make sure that we work with exchanges and other partners to make sure that Wax token has high liquidity and is present in multiple ecosystems. So having Ethereum bridge to be able to bridge fungible tokens back and forth between the blockchain network in a secure way was very important. We also built an NFT bridge to Binance to help with our blockchain brawlers launch. But those are just kind of building blocks that kind of indicate a trend. At the end of the day, one of the sayings that we use a lot internally is that, utility on Wax and liquidity everywhere, right? So we want to make sure that Wax as a blockchain, as the Web3 engine powering applications, is at the forefront of everything that we do. But at the same time, we need to recognize that liquidity is on Ethereum and other chains, and we need to capture that and bring those users to Wax. And the only way we are going to do that by making Wax Cloud Wallet a multi-chain wallet with primary responsibility being obviously Wax and signing transactions, but also we need to be able to reach out to these other ecosystems and be able to say, hey, oh, I'm sorry, Solana went down. Okay, well, how about you play some games in our ecosystem? Because that does not happen here, right? and that's kind of the direction that we're going to be taking. Wax Cloud Wallet is going to have full UX redesign, so it's going to be much more easier to use, but there are going to be some core functions in there that are going to make it a multi-chain wallet as well, allowing you to discover dApps, allowing to manage your NFT inventory, allowing you to move assets between different blockchains. And we're also working on some exciting features like, users being able to take over their accounts, right? So if you want to take over your account, if you want to manage your own keys, you'll be able to do that. We're also going to be working on this, auto-signing technology to also work on other blockchains as well. So that's kind of a high level, what we've done, but also what we're doing for the Wax Cloud Wallet.
That was extremely thorough and covered all the rest of the questions I have on the Cloud Wallet. Thank you so much, Lucas.
No worries.
You called out Solana, so I wanted to bring this up as well. Over the last week and a half, we've seen some slower transaction times with some stuff going on with the block producers. Can you tell us in your words, maybe just to really briefly, kind of like what happened there?
Yeah, for sure. I guess success comes with also with some risks, right? The reality is that because we are the most utilized blockchain in the world, we also have a big bullseye on our back. This was an attack, and this was essentially it wasn't an attack at our blockchain per se. It was essentially a botnet that was trying to exploit how our block producers process and prioritize transactions in a way so that they can essentially benefit and mine more on alien worlds and farmers' worlds. So it was essentially an exploit designed to diminish other essentially other people, other accounts playing these games to essentially push these transactions out or delay these transactions so that whoever was running it, they could benefit from mining more dust or tokens on these other on farmers' world. I'm not gonna be going into technical stuff here, but suffice it to say, whoever did this, they had a deep understanding on how block producers work, how transactions are prioritized, and they designed a set of transactions in a way that would essentially clog up everybody else but them to benefit them in terms of mining, that caused a slowdown for pretty much everybody, right? The good news is that we have really amazing talent at the table when it comes to our block producers and standbys, people who came from EOS.io space, who have been running Wax blockchain producers at this level of traffic for over a year now, and they were able to get together, collaborate, and start peeling the onion, right, from one clue to the next clue to the next clue, and over some time, they have been able to identify what's going on, and we have been able to make some changes to Wax Cloud Wallet. They have been able to also make a lot of changes to their infrastructure and how different services are isolated from each other to essentially combat this particular mining exploit. So yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, I think it's also like a testament, like you kind of said, it affected all of us, but blockchains are always under attack, and often, like in Solana, they crash. We we kept going with a limp in our step. And I think it's a testament to the Wax and like the work that you and like the block producers do to try to help mitigate these types of attacks.
Yeah, the good news is that the technology that we're on is probably the most resilient blockchain technology out there. I mean, we'll see what's going to happen with Ethereum merge and how that ecosystem changes. But we're also not standing still. I mean, we're working with ENF, and we will be upgrading to Antelope. Like I mentioned, we are working on faster finality and sidechains technologies to scale blockchain to 50, 100,000 transactions per second. That's going to happen over the next year, hopefully. But yeah, the reality is that blockchains are under constant pressure all the time, and the good news is that at a peak of this particular exploit, there were still about 30-40% of transactions that were actually being processed, even though some pipes were clogged up.
Yeah.
And we still had some headroom to process more, but the reason why so many transactions were timing out is because this particular exploit was designed to essentially delay other transactions, so that the transactions that were part of this exploit would benefit preferential treatment and in mining time. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, it does make sense. Absolutely. You mentioned we're one of the structure that we're built on is very, very resilient, and there's been a lot of talk recently about upgrading to the Antelope software or structure. What does this mean for Wax?
Well, this means really great things for Wax. So I don't want to go down the memory lane with EOSIO and Block One and all that mess. Suffice it to say, there was a time where the upkeep and upgrades of the EOSIO stack, which we are a hard fork of, really kind of died off, and it was the path from there was to essentially build our own blockchain protocol development team and essentially take that on, or work as a community, and fortunately EOS Network Foundation was formed and essentially took over the development and maintenance of our blockchain stack. There are multiple blockchain protocols that are based on EOS.io. Wax is one of them. We've made some modifications to our blockchain protocol to add a couple of things that are a little bit more beneficial for the NFT space. And obviously, we've done a lot in terms of growing our ecosystem, forming the relationships in the community. So it becomes what it is. But we need to be looking forward, and the upgrade to Antelope will mean essentially that we will upgrade our protocol to Mandel Fork 3.1. And what that means is that there's a lot of innovation, a lot of enhancements to the blockchain protocol that we will definitely benefit from, both on Web3 application development side, because there's a lot of new smart contract tools that are going to be available, but also more importantly, there is going to be many more tools to operate block producers and scale the chain better, in addition to also a lot of security enhancements. So once we do that upgrade by the end of this year, then we will essentially resume our normal upgrade cadence, because we are working with ENF on various different initiatives. but we will also be benefiting from ENF going this regular upkeep and maintenance of the blockchain technology. So most likely, every quarter we will be releasing a new version of Antelope, essentially adapted to Wax, along with all the performance and security enhancements. In addition to any other projects like sidechain technology or faster finality that we're also working with ENF in their Scalability Plus group, which is very, very dear to my heart because we're the only blockchain from Antelope space today that is facing these scaling challenges. So we're going to be probably the first one that are going to be applying it and testing it to push the blockchain throughput even further.
Hey, that's really exciting. It just seems like things are just going on the up and up, especially with these new changes to the blockchain. And I'm just really excited to see what it's all going to bring and what's going to come and what the community is going to do with it. It's going to be really exciting to watch this.
Me too, my friend. Imagine, finality, full finality within a couple of seconds. Mm-hmm. Full finality today is a couple of minutes, right? So if you can achieve full finality of a transaction within a couple of seconds, that is very, very close to what people are used to when it comes to mainstream UX, right?
Yeah.
That your transaction actually completes, right? And you don't have to worry about fork and reversals and all that stuff. And then most importantly, we've been championing this Scalability Plus group because I want to be able to say that game development companies can comfortably come to Wax blockchain and run their in-game inventories and possibly even smart contracts representing some business logic for the game in a sandbox, mm-hmm. right? Where there's a dedicated side chain for a game that does not, they may have, thousands of transactions and because they're running on the side chain, they're not affecting the mainnet, right? And now we have these tools allowing games that grow and become bigger and actually reach that status that they need to now run on the side chain. We have the tool to do that, right? So we could have 100 games running on the chain without affecting the resources and without affecting each other. At least that's the hope.
I'm excited. I'm sure it's going to come to be. Excuse me. All right, this will be the last question I have before we open it up. So you kind of mentioned it before, and there's been rumors going around about a marketplace created by Wax. So would you provide maybe a little insight for the community into what this marketplace will be and how we are going to set it apart from other marketplaces that cater to the Wax NFTs?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's very important to recognize that Wax has an amazing marketplace ecosystem already. With Pink Network releasing Atomic Market and Atomic Standard, and this common listing system allowing other marketplaces to kind of be affiliate. It's really amazing what has happened. What we have found though is that as we are leaning into gaming space, and as you guys know, we release blockchain brawlers. There are other titles in the works because we believe that as a company, we also need to lean into that space to innovate. There is a need for more control over the assets, and there's a need for a marketplace that allows certain mechanisms to exist that we don't have in the ecosystem today. Specifically, I'm talking about something that we called internally deferred listing, and also the deferred lending listing. So, as opposed to getting into the weeds, technically, the use case that Viral Marketplace at the end of the day is going to solve for us, because we're going to be essentially dogfooding this technology, is to be able to have a game, and you will be able to lend your items, lend your NFTs to other players, and have them use those items in playing those games, while you get a scrape of whatever the game mechanic is, and benefit. That's number one. Number two, you will be able to create or list your items for sale while they are being used within those applications, and they're actively used for either gameplay or some other DeFi or whatever. But those listings still exist, right? So those are lending, and that deferred settlement listing those are primary use cases that we want to solve, so that we can provide better tooling for ourselves as game developers. But that tooling is going to also be opened up for game developers in the ecosystem as well. So you will be able to develop a game in a way so that people can lend items to each other without worrying about they're going to be stolen or whatever, right? So that was kind of the reason why we actually created a separate team to create Viral Marketplace, and I'm hoping that over time, Viral Marketplace is going to be a good addition to the ecosystem, while also pushing an envelope on these particular lending and deferred settlement listing technologies.
Thank you so much, Lucas, for answering that, because I feel like we've gotten such thorough answers to all of these questions, and it really creates an opportunity for us to understand what's actually happening and what the priorities are behind Wax right now. And I know that there's been a lot of confusion in the space, and this conversation is clearing up so much talk that's going on right now, and we couldn't be more appreciative that you're here. So I've been looking through the audience, and it seems like most of the people in here actually are collection creators, which is not surprising, because our ecosystem loves art, they love gaming, they love creating it and really bringing their passions to life. What would you say that we could do as collection creators and owners to bring more attention to the Wax ecosystem?
That's a great question, and and that's just my opinion. When I look at the blockchain ecosystem in general, there is massive fragmentation right now. There's Ethereum ecosystem, there's Polygon, Solana, Avalanche, there's Wax, and they all kind of do various different things. A lot of these, NFT use cases are still very much evolving. Starting with the PFPs and just primary drops, and that kind of evolved through crafting that we added, and the unboxing, and then those NFTs can be used in the games. So obviously the space is very, very fluid. I would say that any NFT collection creator has to start with a utility first, right? So the days of primary sell drops and just attaching a JPEG to an NFT and then selling it for a lot of money, I think those days are pretty much over. Now, if you want to really bring value into ecosystem, then it has to be tied to some sort of utility. And there are some very interesting use cases emerging across the blockchain space when it comes to application to NFT. I think that the fact that we are in the middle of crypto winter and all the crypto is melted down, that is actually a good thing for NFT technology. And the reason why I think that is because it essentially it killed off all the hubris and the radical this crazy profit-taking trading that's been going on and speculation. So because of the climate that we have today, the projects that will survive will have to actually bring value, not only hype and marketing and clever positioning of the NFT. They will actually have to solve a specific problem. So, for example, NFTs could be used as something representing a real world item, right? That's a very simple use case that we've been talking about. We call it viral. We even work on a pretty large patent portfolio behind that technology, where you're saying, hey, I'm gonna link and I'm gonna represent a physical object through an NFT, right? And why would you do that? Well, let's say there are some collectibles that are either perishable or very expensive. They need special appraisal. They need special storage. So sometimes I talk about it. Like let's say I'm running a wine trading and collectible business, right? Wine has to be stored at a separate temperature, and each bottle has to be verified and appraised. It's a very expensive process to run a marketplace for wine where collectors are sending wine to each other and I'm just a middleman, right? It's much easier to do it once when you take a case or a bottle and you appraise it, you verify it, you put it in a cool vault, and then you issue an NFT, and then people who are collectors, they could be trading that NFT without that bottle ever leaving the warehouse, right? So that's a use case, for example, that has utility and it solves a problem, right? So I think that NFT collections going forward have to solve a specific problem in order to enhance or solve a real world problem in order to take off. But that's just my opinion.
We are incredibly grateful for your opinion because I think it's a very valuable perspective to add to the space, because usually whenever we ask this question to somebody, it is more along the lines of like you can make anything an NFT, and on Wax you have the applications such as like blending mechanics and pack opening mechanics and backing mechanics. And so we usually talk about, oh, well, you have the ability to add your utility through these different situations, and you can create different types of collections that do X, Y, and Z to tell a story or to showcase art. And I think this is a great perspective on a different take of what collections are going to be in the future that are going to be building in the blockchain ecosystem. So thank you, Lucas.
Yeah. I just want to add that let's not make a mistake that NFTs are a fad and it's going away and it's over because Bitcoin is down. NFT as a technology is here to stay, and we have gone through a massive, like very, very compressed timeline when it comes to innovation, when it comes to NFT space. Right? Because within a year and a half or 2 years, we went through so many iterations of this particular technology, how it's used, why it's used, how it's traded, how it's speculated upon, and now I think we're entering a phase where largely the air has been let out of the balloon. The speculation is largely over. But the technology and its merits still remain. So now it's time to say, okay, great. So I'm not gonna be building a collection because I just want massive speculation. I'm gonna pump it up and I'm gonna retire on the beach, right? Now it's time to focus on, okay, so with this technology, what real problem can I solve? Right? And people who solve enough problems will be very successful. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Lucas. I think that gives a lot of us something to think about how we can curate those solutions ourselves with the blockchain technology. And I think it provides for a really good future conversation too. Anybody who missed it earlier, Lucas said that he would be willing to do this on a regular basis. So expect to hear more from Lucas coming up.
Let's do it.
Yes. We did have a couple of people who are really eager to ask questions that have been waiting for probably about 20 minutes with requests. I know Broken Dolls was the first one, then Lisa, then Crypto Kumas. So if you guys want to go ahead and ask your questions, feel free to. Also, if anybody else wants to come up and ask questions, go ahead and send that request to speak, and I'll accept it too.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
Good. Hey Lucas, thanks for joining us. Really, it's fun to see somebody from the Wax team from the stuff that you do. You know, the really tech stuff, and
They
it's
keep
too
us locked up in the closet, my friend. I just got up. I found the key, got out, and I'm here.
So we're totally happy to have you, man. Really. I got one short question and one sort of like a follow. I'm not sure even if a question. The first short one is there any plans of doing an app for the Wax Cloud wallet? And I'm saying it only, it looks better.
Yeah,
it just looks better that we have an app,
the short answer is yes.
Okay.
The long answer is I don't know exactly when. This has been on a chopping block several times now, and the reason why there isn't an app yet is because it would have to be very, very neutered version of the Wax Cloud wallet as it is today. And that is because of the regulatory requirements from Apple Store and Google App Store when it comes to specifically NFT ownership, trading, and all that stuff. So we could have an app that is essentially Wax Cloud wallet, but we would have to remove a lot of functions and have them essentially turned off or dormant. And only available in the web version. So I selfishly don't want to commit engineering resources that are scarce to building an app that is not as fully functional as a web version and that potentially runs into a risk of some sort of a ban because of a regulatory environment changing, right? This space is very, very gray still when it comes to what's allowed, what's not allowed, and the app stores are playing it very, very safe. So nothing is allowed. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. But it's good to know that maybe somewhere in the horizon. Well, I'm happy with the way it is right now, but it's easier.
It's on the list. I think that if I were to kind of dig into this a little bit deeper, I would say that you would probably see Chrome extension before a Wax Cloud wallet app, because that to me is more powerful.
Yeah, totally.
More valuable to our users and Web3 developers, for example.
Totally agree on that one. And the other thing I wanted to say, and it's something I've been saying in lots of spaces to everybody in Wax, that and I just wanted to hear somebody from the blockchain opinion about that we have a tool and like blockchain technology, NFTs, but in Wax particular because it works so good, that everybody's talking about markets and everybody's talking about sales and nobody's talking about reach. And I come from the advertising industry, and I know the value of reach, and it's like incredible. And I also, create on Wax, and I do art most of my life, and
right.
I've sold in art fairs, and I had a DeviantArt account and all that, but I've never had reach like I had on Wax. And I'm thinking, okay, it's the community, but it's this technology that made it happen. And when I'm now, like, I'm from Tel Aviv, I'm from Israel, I'm trying to push wax, and I've started doing, like, everybody say you got to reach the brands. I'm saying, no, don't reach the brand. Reach the people who tell the brands what to do. And those people are really excited. But the only problem that it's still a market, and they don't sometimes care about the token value. They care about, like, reaching to 10,000 people. And I was just like, how do you see those things? Is something that the Wax team has even, like, thought about, like, using Wax as an advertising tool of a sort, you know?
Yeah, so for sure, there's a lot of use cases, and in fact, we are using a couple of tools that were built by the community to do the drops and through social media and drive user acquisition and retention. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do using NFTs. Having said that, though, a larger problem, I think, is mainstream adoption. Right? We are still talking about crypto users or people who are maybe not hardcore crypto people, but they are at least technically savvy to be able to, be comfortable operating in this ecosystem, right? So the thing that we are trying to crack, right? What is the code that we are trying to crack? And I sometimes get a lot of flack from people in the community. When I go to these channels, not that often because I don't have that kind of time, but sometimes I look at these Telegram channels or Discord or whatever, and I see, like, why the hell are you guys working on games? You should be working on blockchain. You should be working on blah, 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 right? Well, let me ask you this. What is the area that proves again and again, from a perspective of entertainment, that is kind of universal, right? Everyone plays games, either on their phone, on tablet, or their consoles, and there's such a massive number of players every day on these platforms. The reason why we've established our own gaming studio, and the reason why we are working on titles, is because we believe that by bringing high quality Web3 gaming experience to the mass market, to people who normally play Candy Crush on their phone, right? But now they're playing Wax Studios game on their phone, right? And now they're part of this ecosystem. That's how we're going to be bringing mainstream consumers. We're not talking about, oh, wow, we've got 13 million wallets. Buck and Grinder, that's nothing. In any Web2 platform, 13 million accounts, it's nothing, right? We want to operate at 200 million accounts. We want to operate at 500 million accounts, right? We want to have that many users in this ecosystem. And if we use games to do it, guess what? Now they're going to be part of the marketplace ecosystem. Now they're going to be dabbling in other dApps. And now they're going to be potential consumers to other Web3 applications being developed on the platform. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. You answered actually lots of other people's questions, I'm sure. But yeah, you definitely answered mine, and you should definitely do this more.
I agree, Broken. It's a great conversation, and I think it's definitely needed in our community right now. And I love that Lucas is able to give us such great insights. So thank you, Lucas, as well.
Those insights are worth $1 billion, man. Really, bro. Thanks for that.
No
so
worries.
Thank you, Broken. I think up next we have Lisa, and then we'll have Kumas.
Hi, it's great to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us. I spend a good part of my day interfacing with Wax and have for a couple of years, and been experimenting in decentralized communities for around 5 years, believe it or not. So my background has a lot of marketing and similar to Broken Dolls.
You
And
are
have been,
OG. You're the true OG. 5 years, huh?
my
Nice.
brother is the true OG, Max. Yeah, I just got to come along for the ride. But I had a lot of experience with, direct marketing, driving revenue, and massive audiences in my past career. And so what you're talking about is obviously on my mind. And I was just over a year at Alien Worlds back when there was almost nobody until there was a whole lot of people.
Nice.
And had a huge amount of control over driving traffic, which is a whole nother story itself. But along the way, obviously needed to create bot defense tools. And that took up also a good part of my day for the past year. And since leaving, still have, needed them because I've been working in, well, I don't know if working is the right word, but in the communities, building things and helping friends create things like JR's Lands and other brands that are coming in, some of which are dropping on JR's Lands, etc. And a lot of what I do is very experimentation focused, like try this. Like I'm just starting to ship out coffee from Jittery Ape to people in Lisa's coffee shop.
Very cool.
Who get, because utility is important, and I don't like having the responsibility of a big giant thing just to do one experiment. But at the same time, I have some concerns about bots,
For sure.
and honestly, I hate that word, but I really haven't in some cases known where to go. I mean, I know a lot of people working on it, but I felt almost like, when I heard that Facebook has 20,000 people looking up transactions in addition to AI, I thought, boy, wouldn't they be helpful? But there's an interesting thing about the bot. There's many interesting things about the bots. It's one of those cases, our community is so vocal about transparency. But when it comes to bots, everyone shuts their mouth. And a whole lot of people know what's going on.
I can tell you why they shut up.
Safety.
No, because probably they run a botnet.
Well, I know of cases myself where that's true and where it's not, and it's very difficult to tell. And a big part of me being around so long understands resilience is really important. And I'm a big fan. I know people who do it specifically to try to make things more resilient, and there's obviously a lot of support for that. But something struck me recently, which many people have told me not to talk about, which is that people could be creating bots or bot systems to pay, or to allow people to pay for nefarious things. And this is where I get very, very concerned. If I'm about to bring in brands that have large reach and audience, it's very, when you're dealing with 10 million transactions even on Wax a day, there's a lot going on. It takes a lot to watch that, right? And and building on top of that as community games, I feel a sense of responsibility. And I've actually found some people who do work in the old social media world who are doing similar things, trying to stop really bad things from happening.
Right.
Anyway, to make, a long story into a question is there any way that we can work with you and the old world to stop nefarious things from happening with botting technology?
Sure. So let's, there's a lot there. So let's unpack it. Let's start by, so I'm going to give my opinion why some brands or larger brands in general are slow to adopt blockchain. And what you said is a big part of it, right? Because in a true decentralized world, there is no big overlord that's going to be sifting through transactions and saying what's allowed and what's not allowed, right? It's a decentralized open system, right? So that's problem number one. Problem number two is regulatory unknowns, right? Large companies, large brands are very allergic to anything that is gray, right? And blockchain is a gray space. There's still a lot of regulation that is going to come out and is being baked. And who knows how that's going to affect the space, right? So there are those type of the pressures that are preventing large brands to enter. And then the last one, which I've talked to enough large corporations now, especially in the gaming space, trying to bring them onto Wax, right? To know that they say one thing, but so they say that, oh my God, blockchain is great, and what you guys have done is fantastic. Look at this ecosystem; it's all open. You've got these decentralized marketplaces or whatever. But that is precisely the reason why they don't want to join, because they want full control. They don't want to release assets that could be used in any way, shape, or form, right? Let's say I'm an IP holder. Let's say I'm a big, well-known gaming studio, and I decide to put my in-game assets and represent them as NFTs. Well, great. That's fantastic. Now, I'm getting benefit of the secondary market trading, but what if there's another Web3 developer that comes in and say, hey, those are pretty cool assets. Those are pretty cool NFTs. I'm going to build a new game that uses these assets, right? And that game is better. They don't want that, right? Their legal team and IP licensing team would have a coronary, right? So there's a lot of hurdles that prevent large brands from entering blockchain space in general. You mentioned bots, so let's also dig into bots. I think that I've been fighting bots for the last probably the larger portion of my career, and the reality is that bots are always some part of the ecosystem. Whether they're for what purpose they're being created, that's really depends on how they're utilized. But most of the time, bots are created so you can maximize that network effect, and if there is money to be made, you're essentially amplifying how much money you can make with multiple accounts, whether that's a game that you're playing or whatever it is that you're doing, right? When it comes to bot protections, I did mention at the beginning of this call, we've invested a lot of effort into trying to sanitize Wax Cloud wallet traffic, and we have a very, very good visibility into what's going on. Having said that, we are not in the business of censorship. I can't sanitize every transaction and decide what's good or bad, especially because this is a decentralized ecosystem. So I think that in order to get larger companies to adopt this technology, it's going to take some time. And very likely what's going to end up happening is that these large companies, because they really at the end of the day want to control fully their IP, they will be launching their own blockchains first. I highly doubt that a large gaming studio would sign a deal with an open platform where their assets can be used and traded without any control. I may be wrong, but let's see what happens.
I know some coming in, so we're going to get to experiment with it, but they have the kind of brands that it's very important that, like you say, nefarious things aren't going on. They're going to do it. They're going to come in, but they're counting on us to protect them and their fans and their fans' children.
Right. Can you expand a little bit more on like nefarious things? Like, are you talking about some illegal trading, or what?
I really am worried about one thing only myself, and that's paying for trafficking. And many people tell me, don't say that. People are going to freak out. But I'm like, well, better now I mean, hopefully it's not happening, but better we address it now, right? Because trust me, I understand the decentralization and we don't want to censor and we don't want to sanitize. And it's up to our games and communities to have some, responsibility in what we do. I've worked with EOS USA, Michael, at EOS USA Games to create a bot defense process similar to what we did at Alien Worlds, but that, we as games can use as a, blocker for our drops or things like that. But in watching what people are doing, I've realized they can have, in any which way, create and provide a bot and put the address there to pay someone for trafficking. And there are some ways I can think of to stop that, or, well, to identify it, let's say. Stopping it may be somebody else's responsibility. And I know that it's dangerous because we're talking about a lot of money and we're talking about people who threaten. And I've been in very bad situations myself over the years. But still, it's important enough. I think we should address it and we shouldn't hide behind the.
No, I
not that you are, but I'm just saying
I think
do something.
This should be part of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
I think that we have enough adoption. There's enough things going on where these things become real. And the same issue face Bitcoin network, Ethereum network. Well, how are those funds used and by whom there's enough now systems in place where agencies that are combating these things can pinpoint and can trace transactions to the point where they can make arrests or whatever. I think when it comes to our platform, the more traffic we have, the more users we have, the more interest and attention is going to come from the same services that are overseeing other crypto transactions for the purpose of combat of what you're talking about. And at the same time, I think we as a community, we should be talking about it. And if there are some specific projects, ideas, things that we could be doing that you want to discuss, then reach out to me or the guys in the call, and we'll set up a meet and we'll take a deeper dive.
I would love to. I would greatly appreciate that. And I do know many people who could help us in that conversation. And I mean, just feeling like we're doing something or having a conversation about it feels better than not,
For sure.
And for those who are curious, if you go to jarslands.com/drops, you can see one of the, even though there's not a lot of text about it, one of the upcoming drops is with a brand that was at Henson, Jim Henson Studios. So at one point it was, more child focused, but so it's, that drop is like in 3 weeks. So I'm thinking about that, granted it's just one game mechanic. It's not the full game or anything, but, it definitely got me thinking a lot about it and also about onboarding.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Anyway, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa, for coming up.
Do you know how to reach out to us? Yeah.
You can reach out to me directly in DM. I just followed you, Lisa, and then I'll get you the contact info.
Yeah, you can also send out an email to partnerships, plural, right? Partnerships at wax.io, and we can connect that way too.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
No worries.
And that's great advice for anybody else in this room as well who has any kind of project or idea that they've come up with and a solution to a problem that they maybe want a partnership with Wax to see if they can get attention to. So definitely that's partnership at wax.io. Reach out if you have one of these ideas as well. I know Crypto Kumas was next, and I know Danish Crypto has his hand up. Danish Crypto, was this to talk about bots? I know that's when your hand went up. If not, then we'll let Crypto Kumas ask his question first. And then we'll wrap up the space after you both ask questions.
It was kind of it was more for the part that Lucas here was talking about before, with big game companies coming into the space and don't want to have their assets used by others. But then comes the big questions in my mind. Isn't metaverse what all that is about? That I can take Kuma's assets here and use them in my game, and that's going to benefit both of us. But the freedom of that, like the Ready Player One aspect of the world,
Yeah.
So it feels kind of
so let's
like double-edged sword, but
so let me say a couple of things about metaverse first, and let me first say that those are my opinions, not Wax opinions. Let me just say that. So in my mind, the state of technology for metaverses today is abysmal, right? Like you cannot have fully decentralized blockchain-based metaverse. That's a fantasy that does not exist, right? 99% of technology making metaverse work, kind of like this Ready Player One, would have to be centralized, and you would have to be Web2 technology. Now, it could be augmented and married with blockchain to have true ownership of assets, and I think that's kind of the direction. But you know, like this sometimes I read these articles about like, oh, you know, decentralized blockchain, everything on the blockchain. That is a fantasy today. I think what's going to happen over time is that these metaverses being created under the banner of true ownership and decentralization are going to be just that. This is going to be just hype. Let's say Facebook, right? Let's say Facebook creates metaverse and they're running a blockchain or whatever. At the end of the day, they are going to control the shit out of it. They're going to censor it. They're going to control it, and then only then big brands and big games are going to sign partnerships with Facebook to be part of the metaverse, because they will like, oh, okay, well, there's a big cup in the room, and we can now have assurances that there's control over what's going on. I don't know if that answered your question, but I largely gave my opinion, but that's
a good opinion, and I appreciate your answer for sure. I, as a techno crypto enthusiast and a tech enthusiast, is kind of like misled by this whole aspect of it, though, because that again, if a business is introduced to this aspect of secondhand income after, like, again, how many times have you bought a PlayStation game? The game company only made the money the first time, but if I'm gonna sell that again or I'm gonna trade it in, then they're gonna do it again. And if I'm gonna use Kuma's assets here, sorry for using you again, but if I'm gonna use his assets in my game, then and my game becomes better. Is that a bad thing? Because they're still going to sell those assets.
It's a great thing for the end consumer. Is a terrible thing for the original game maker.
Is it though? Because they're still going to buy those assets, and there's still going to be a secondhand market for it.
Oh, for sure. They're gonna. I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's no question that, you know, as a collection maker, they're gonna still be making the secondary market sales fees, right? But that's not the primary business that they're in. Their primary business is their game. So if all of a sudden people stop playing their game, and the only revenue that they have is secondary sales of the asset because someone else developed the game, then they're out of the business. They need to lay off their engineering staff. There's no more game development, right?
So wouldn't it push the game developers to do better? Like, wouldn't it push them to, hey, somebody else is making more money and more traffic using our assets. we need to do something here.
Potentially, I
like
think,
like open source did for security
for sure.
and for blockchain.
I just, maybe after 25 years working in this space, I'm a little bit more jaded than you. I just know how funding and money works, right? A company shut down a lot of times based on financial merits and risk mitigation reasons, right? Because investors are like, hey, I'm invested in 10 companies. This company just had their lunch handed to them by some other developer. Okay, well, I'm just going to reallocate my assets somewhere else. And now they're out of business. They could have competed, right? They could have been like, oh, if we had more runway or if we had more money or whatever. But if the operational capital dries up because there's no more revenue coming from the game, and they have this large staff that's supposed to be building the game, right? Then the money has to come from somewhere, typically from investors or whatever. But if that happens, then the investors are going to be looking at it like, well, you failed. Why would I send more money after bad, where I can put that money to work somewhere else? That's just my jaded.
It's a great,
that's
great
my
question,
jaded,
but
that's just my jaded opinion.
Looking at Call of Duty Warzone, people are still paying for that, and that's sorry, but it's a really bad game with a lot of mistakes. But people are still buying that, so I see it as a mix and match. Like it could go both ways. Maybe if it got introduced to the people with the businesses, the companies in the right way. They actually acknowledge this as I do, and 25 years of you in business, a little longer than me. I've only been in crypto for 10, but it's so it's fine.
I've only been in crypto since 2018. I haven't had any crypto experience before that. But what I want to say is that I think there's a lot of merit to what you're saying, that this healthy competition can actually make products better, and hopefully that happens, right? Hopefully that happens. All I can tell you is that over the last 2 years, since we launched Wax blockchain, longer than that. I mean, we launched mainnet in June of 2019, right? Over the last 2.5 years, I've sat in a room talking to these. I'm not gonna name names, but I've sat in the room across from these large gaming development studios, right? And all of them, they were not interested really in coming onto Wax. It was a fishing expedition to find out more about blockchain, how to do it or whatever. And at the end of the day, it turned out that they all want to control the ecosystem. So we'll see how the space evolves. It's still very early. I mean, I compare this to e-commerce boom in the 90s. We are still like, this is like 96, 97, right? We haven't reached the full potential or whatever. It's very early. So let's see what happens.
Thank you for bringing this up, Danish. I think this has also put another perspective and another layer on what the future of blockchain really has to go through for mass adaptation for people who traditionally are in the Web 2 ecosystem, where they're only used to getting that first sale and then also like maybe DLC content, or like skin drops or something to make revenue. So they're not used to seeing the secondary sales. So they're not as comfortable with testing out something that they haven't been around before.
I'm going to piggyback off what you just said a little bit and tie it to some of the direction that we're taking with Wax Cloud Wallet. Because I believe that blockchain, if we think that blockchain space is fragmented with so many blockchains today and L2s, we haven't seen anything yet. In my opinion, there's still going to be more and more blockchains coming online that are more private, more controlled, operated by these larger companies. There's going to be even more fragmentation in the open blockchain space as the technologies evolve. We'll see what's going to happen with this Ethereum merge, for example, what that's going to do to all the other L2s. And at some point, there's going to be a consolidation, right? I mean, we've seen this time and time again in different type of technologies and cycles. So this is the reason why when I talk about Wax Cloud Wallet being a multi-chain wallet, we want to capture as many users from other ecosystems as possible in order to show them and provide them with utility on Wax, right? So liquidity everywhere, but utility on Wax. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for all of your answers, and I will not keep up any more of anyone's time. I'll let Kuma get some time now, and thanks for having me up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonas.
Welcome to the space, Kumas. Thank you for patiently waiting. I know this is one of our longer calls that we've experienced, but go ahead and ask your question, then we'll wrap this up.
Whew, I felt like I was holding my breath there for a second. Sorry. Hey, everybody. Lucas, man, nice to meet you. I'm Kuma. Everyone probably expects me to have.
What's up, Kuma? Nice to meet you, man.
Nothing much, man. Yeah, everyone probably expects me to have some kind of crazy pressing comment for you, but no, man, I like you. I like you. I like your swag. I like all the answers. I think you hold yourself really well. I mean, not that makes or break you at the end of the day, but I think it's important to a lot of the people that are in the space. You know what I mean? Like
that's what happens when you keep someone locked up in a closet for so long, man. You want to talk to people, right? You want to let it all out.
Yeah, no, it's all right, man. Sometimes they'll let you out. Sometimes they just got to keep you in there. You know what I mean? It's all good, But I'm glad that they let you out today. Much appreciated. But no, dude, for real, like in all seriousness, it's important. It's important for us. Like we have our front runners as far as Snazzy and Tommy and people like that. But to get an idea on some of the stuff behind the scenes and to really hear a kind of genuine opinion on it, I mean, like not like I said, not that it makes or breaks you, but it sounds like you know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. You don't have your head up your arse. We'll say it, you know what I mean? And I'm sorry to say, but there are some people out here in the crypto space that definitely can. So
thanks for the shout out, dude. I am definitely not a blockchain maximalist, and since 2018, I've run into a lot of people who are kind of in that bucket. My mission in my work, I want to solve problems. I want to solve hard problems, and I want to make users' lives better, right? Through technology. That's kind of my mission. The big draw, right? The big draw for me for joining Wax when I was talking to Jonathan and William back in 2018, right after the initial ICO, which I wasn't even part of yet. They were talking about this ecosystem. They were like, we have a vision that there's going to be this ecosystem. There are going to be marketplaces. There are going to be, this free trading, and we're going to do NFTs, and we're going to. Back then, they were already talking about utility. 2018, right? Utility of NFTs. How NFTs can change the game by being wrappers of other tokens or tokenized tokens, and how that could then be used to represent real world items, right? So I was like, holy shit, man, I want to be part of this team. Let's go.
Yeah, no, we all love it too. I mean, I'm an independent creator on the chain, and I mean, as far as a lot of us are informed that like Wax initially wasn't created with that intentions. It was created for games. But these kind of indie collections came in and created a whole new environment as far as on that side of things for the space, which is
that's the thing about open platform, right? Once you create a tool, once it's out there, it's out of your hands how people are going to use it, right? So
it's been huge for us. I mean, even for me, and just as an independent artist, but not just an artist, but now being able to successfully brand that artistry as well, and to build something as far as just a whole brand that's been created through an NFT collection. It's huge.
Dude, I'm so happy you're part of the ecosystem and you're making it work. That's amazing. That's great. But thanks for the shout out. Much appreciated.
No, thank you, man. Definitely appreciate you coming out here and giving some.
Look at that. We are group hugging. Big bro hug right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. And it's probably wild for some of these people in here too, because they're like, "What?"
We can only end now on a high note, man.
It's the perfect way.
Yeah,
that's right.
Kuma, you can always count on Kuma for the vibes, bro. But yeah, no, nice to meet you, man. I ain't gonna take this and drag this out, but no, it's definitely nice to meet you. Love to see more of this shit. Thank you for Snaz and Tom for putting this shit together.
In all seriousness, I think there's definitely a voice missing representing my team and what we're doing and why we're working on the things that we're working. I just had this conversation with our internal team today, and Jassy, we're gonna definitely we owe you guys this for us to kind of tell you what's going on and explain things. Hopefully I explained why we do the things we do, and there is a reason behind everything that we do. It's just I definitely can get better at articulating that to you guys, and hopefully we can do it at least once a quarter, maybe more, right? Maybe more often.
Yeah, no,
just coming here to take my job on Spaces, like giving all the wax information is normally my job. And I don't even work for you guys. I just work on the chain, but I follow whatever you do. So
that's right, baby. But maybe we can partner up.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate it. Like I said, the community probably enjoys it as well, to kind of get that take from a back end perspective. It's huge, man. So no, nice to meet you. Definitely like to hear you next time.
Good to meet you too, guys.
All right.
Anything else?
I think we'll wrap it up, Lucas. This has really been a pleasure. This is a space that I was really excited for. I want to thank everyone that came out and showed up below. You're the reason we keep coming out and doing these spaces, and you're the ones who inspire us. I especially want to thank Lucas for taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule to come and share your insights with us here today. We have really great innovation comes from these types of conversations, and especially in times, it really counts to build something amazing. So everyone that came and joined, you're all wonderful. I hope you have a great rest of your Wax Wednesday, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Take care of you guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a great Wax Wednesday.